There's a plant growing in your backyard right now. You walk past it every day. It's probably in the ditch near your house, tangled along the highway, spreading through forgotten fields across America. For nearly a century, the government spent billions trying to destroy it. They failed. The plant kept coming back. And the reason why reveals one of the most stunning examples of industrial manipulation in modern history. I'm Wyatt, and on Nature's Forgotten World, we uncover the stories that history tried to hide. Before we go deeper, if you care about real history, real plants, and how corporations shape our world, please hit that subscribe button. We upload content that challenges everything you've been taught. Drop a like right now, and let's get started. This is the story of a plant that clothed soldiers, built nations, and fed entire civilizations. Then three powerful industries decided it had to disappear. The plant is called Cannabis sativa. But hold on before you click away. We're not talking about intoxication. We're discussing industrial hemp, and these are two completely different things from the same species. Hemp is a fiber crop. It produces zero intoxicating effects. You cannot get high from it. The variety we're discussing contains less than 0.3% of the compound that causes intoxication. That's the legal definition today, and it's important you understand this distinction because in 1937, the American government made no such distinction. They criminalized everything with the plant's name attached, regardless of its actual properties. For approximately 10,000 years, human civilizations used hemp. Ancient cultures across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East harvested this plant for rope, textiles, paper, and healing medicines. George Washington cultivated it on his Virginia plantation. Thomas Jefferson grew hemp on his lands. The document that created this nation, the Declaration of Independence, was drafted on hemp paper. The Constitution exists today on hemp paper. Then, in 1937, overnight, everything changed. Hemp became the most heavily criminalized plant in America. But not because anyone had discovered it was dangerous. It became illegal because it was far too useful. An industry saw competition they couldn't beat in the marketplace, so they changed the law instead. To understand what happened, you need to know what threatened the existing power structure. In 1935, a major technology magazine featured a remarkable article about hemp. The headline called it the new billion-dollar crop. That wasn't hype. The article documented revolutionary mechanical processing systems that could finally harvest and process hemp efficiently at enormous scale. Hemp fiber possesses greater tensile strength than cotton. It outperforms synthetic fabrics in durability. A single acre of hemp produces as much paper as 4 acres of mature trees. While trees take decades to mature, hemp completes its entire growing cycle in 120 days. Hemp paper can be recycled up to 7 separate times, while traditional wood pulp paper only tolerates 3 recycling cycles. Hemp cultivation requires 0 pesticides. Compare this to cotton, which consumes 25% of the world's pesticides while occupying merely 3% of global farmland. But 3 massive industries recognized hemp as an existential threat to their plans. The first was DuPont, a chemical manufacturing corporation that had just patented nylon, a completely synthetic fiber designed to displace natural textiles in the marketplace. DuPont's financial reports explicitly stated that synthetic fiber revenue represented their primary growth opportunity. Here was the problem. Hemp fabric was substantially cheaper than nylon while demonstrating superior strength and durability. If hemp remained legal and scalable, nylon couldn't compete. DuPont had also developed a novel process for manufacturing paper from wood pulp using sulfuric acid, and they'd invested millions in patenting and implementing this technology. Hemp paper required no acids, no chemistry, no complex equipment. Just harvest the plant, process the fiber, make paper. If hemp became the standard, DuPont's chemical process became obsolete. The second threat came from William Randolph Hurst, who controlled the biggest newspaper network in the entire country. Hurst also owned massive timber properties, thousands of acres of forest specifically managed for paper production. Cheap hemp paper would obliterate the value of his timber investments. So Hearst began something extraordinary. His newspapers started running anti-cannabis propaganda campaigns. Not because anyone proved cannabis was dangerous, pure profit protection. The third player was Andrew Mellon, who served as Secretary of the Treasury. Mellon also happened to be DuPont's primary banker. His financial institution had financed DuPont's entire synthetic fiber expansion program. When the Federal Bureau of Narcotics was newly established, Mellon appointed his own nephew, Harry Anslinger, to direct it. Anslinger needed a purpose for his new agency, something that would justify its budget and expansion. Mellon suggested cannabis. What followed was one of the most effective propaganda campaigns in human history. Anslinger claimed that cannabis caused insanity and violent criminal behavior. He assembled anecdotal stories, many of which were fabricated or wildly exaggerated, and presented them to Congress as scientific evidence. His statements had zero scientific foundation. Hearst's newspaper empire amplified every accusation across the nation. They deliberately used the Mexican-Spanish word marijuana instead of the scientific terms cannabis or hemp. This was strategic. Using the foreign word made it sound dangerous and alien during a period of intense anti-Mexican sentiment in America. The American Medical Association, based on decades of actual medical experience and research, opposed the new legislation. They testified before Congress that cannabis had legitimate medical applications and that the proposed law was unnecessary and harmful to patients. Their voices were ignored. Hemp farmers, whose livelihoods depended on the crop, protested loudly and clearly. They explained that the legislation would destroy their entire industry over confusion between different plant varieties. They were also ignored. Congress passed the legislation in 1937 with minimal discussion and debate. Most representatives voting on it didn't actually comprehend that they were criminalizing industrial hemp. The word hemp barely appeared in the legislation itself. The entire legal mechanism centered on the word marijuana. Overnight, an entire industry collapsed. Hemp farms shut down permanently. Processing facilities closed their doors. The knowledge and skills required to cultivate and process hemp disappeared from American culture. By 1945, hemp cultivation in America had essentially ended. Machines were destroyed. Records were lost. Farmers switched to other crops. Entire communities that depended on hemp economy scattered. But here's what the government didn't anticipate. The plant itself never actually left America. Cannabis sativa originated in Central Asia, but over thousands of years it naturally spread across North America. Indigenous peoples cultivated and used it long before any European arrived. Despite 87 years of aggressive prohibition, despite billions of dollars spent on eradication efforts, hemp still grows wild across every continental state in America. In the Midwest, locals call it ditchweed because it flourishes along roadsides and in forgotten fields near old processing sites. Millions upon millions of wild hemp plants grow completely free and untended. Law enforcement agencies spend millions annually cutting it down, trying to eliminate it through brute force. The plant simply grows back the next season. Nebraska officials estimate 12 million wild hemp plants growing naturally within the state. Kansas reports massive wild populations. Iowa overflows with hemp. Illinois and Indiana have similar situations. These wild plants contain virtually no THC, the intoxicating compound that causes the high. They are industrial hemp in every meaningful way, completely safe and legal to consume, yet they remained illegal to harvest under federal law until 2018. This is what wild hemp offers the world. The seeds contain all 9 essential amino acids, something very few plants can claim. Hemp seeds provide a complete protein profile that actually surpasses soy, which many people believe is the protein standard. Hemp seeds consist of approximately 30% oil by weight. That oil contains an optimal 3-to-1 ratio of omega-6 fatty acids to omega-3 fatty acids, which is precisely what nutritionists recommend for human health. Hemp seed oil also includes gamma-linolenic acid, a rare omega-6 variety with powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Most people lack sufficient amounts in their diet. You typically only find it in expensive supplements like evening primrose oil or borage oil. 100 grams of hemp seeds deliver 9 grams of complete protein, 12 grams of healthy fats, significant concentrations of vitamin E, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, iron, and zinc. Hemp seeds are additionally rich in manganese and B vitamin complex. You can consume the seeds raw, grind them into flour for baking, or press them to extract the oil. Indigenous peoples historically prepared them into nutritious porridge. Pioneer settlers fed them to chickens, which produced superior eggs with richer yolks and better nutritional content. But the nutritional aspect only tells half the story. Hemp fiber possesses extraordinary strength. The tensile strength exceeds steel when measured by weight. Early sailing vessels relied on hemp rope specifically because it resisted saltwater deterioration. The British Navy required enormous quantities. Every major naval power needed massive supplies. Much of the entire colonial expansion era quite literally ran on hemp rope, connecting ships and securing cargo. Hemp fabric exhibits naturally antimicrobial properties. It resists mold formation and deteriorates very slowly under UV light exposure. Clothing manufactured from hemp lasts years longer than cotton garments. Hemp actually softens with each washing cycle, becoming more comfortable. Cotton, by contrast, weakens with repeated washing and eventually breaks down. Beyond clothing, hemp builds soil rather than depleting it. The plant's deep taproot penetrates compacted earth and stops erosion. When farmers grow and till hemp back into their fields, it returns nutrients and organic matter to the soil. Historically, farmers used hemp as a rotation crop to restore fields exhausted by continuous monoculture. The plant requires 0 herbicide applications because it grows so densely and rapidly that it naturally chokes out competing weeds. Hemp can also remediate contaminated soil through a process called phytoremediation. The plant absorbs heavy metals, pesticides, and various toxins directly from soil and stores them in its tissues. Following the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, researchers planted hemp near the affected area. The plants successfully absorbed radioactive cesium and strontium from the soil, reducing contamination. In Italy, hemp has been deployed to clean industrial soil contaminated by pollution and chemical processing. For thousands of years before 1937, cannabis appeared in medical literature across multiple civilizations. Ancient Chinese medical writings from 2800 BCE documented cannabis for treating pain, inflammation, and digestive disorders. Traditional Indian medicine utilized cannabis for anxiety, sleep disturbances, and appetite stimulation. Ancient Greek physicians prescribed it for inflammation and ear infections. By 1850, cannabis had been officially recognized and entered into the United States Pharmacopoeia, the standard compendium of accepted medications. It remained there until 1942. During this era, major pharmaceutical corporations manufactured and sold cannabis tinctures. Eli Lilly, Park Davis, and Squibb all produced cannabis-based medicines. Doctors prescribed them regularly for migraines, muscle tension, menstrual cramps, insomnia, and anxiety disorders. These were legitimate medical treatments supported by clinical observation and patient outcomes. Then, the propaganda campaign intensified. Anslinger's Federal Bureau of Narcotics declared that cannabis possessed no medical value whatsoever. This directly contradicted decades of medical practice, countless medical publications, and contemporary prescribing patterns throughout hospitals and clinics. Yet the narrative took hold in public consciousness. When Congress passed the Controlled Substances Act in 1970, cannabis was classified as Schedule I. The legal definition for Schedule I substances specifies they have no accepted medical use and present high abuse potential. This classification placed cannabis alongside heroin, considered the most dangerous substances. Meanwhile, cocaine and methamphetamine received Schedule II classification, defined as having accepted medical uses despite their danger. The classification was purely political rather than scientific. President Nixon's own research commission, the Schaefer Commission, studied cannabis effects extensively over 2 years. They recommended decriminalization in 1972. Nixon completely ignored the recommendation. Years later, John Ehrlichman, who served in Nixon's administration, openly admitted that the drug war targeted specific political enemies. He stated that the Nixon administration couldn't make it illegal to oppose the war or be black, but by associating hippie movements with marijuana and connecting black communities with heroin, they could disrupt these populations and arrest their leaders without legal justification. While America criminalized and destroyed its hemp industry, other nations continued cultivation without interruption. China never stopped growing hemp, and today produces over half the world's hemp fiber supply. France, Romania, and the Netherlands maintained active hemp industries throughout America's Prohibition period. Canadian farmers resumed hemp production in 1998 after their own decades of prohibition. By the time America finally reconsidered its position, the nation had lost 80 years of agricultural knowledge, processing infrastructure, manufacturing equipment, and market expertise. America had to import everything it had spent a century perfecting before 1937. The infrastructure was simply gone. In 2014, a new farm bill permitted limited hemp cultivation for scientific research purposes. In 2018, the Farm Bill fully legalized industrial hemp, defined as cannabis containing less than 0.3% THC. After 81 years, hemp became legal again in America. Farmers rushed to plant immediately, but the fundamental infrastructure had vanished. America possessed no functioning processing facilities. Seed varieties optimized for regional climates didn't exist. Equipment manufacturers no longer produced hemp machinery. The skilled workforce had completely disappeared. Everything had to be imported from foreign countries that had maintained their capabilities. Today, hemp remains significantly underutilized despite legalization. Most American hemp cultivation goes towards CBD extraction, which is lucrative but represents only one narrow market segment. The genuine potential lies in fiber applications, seed products, and industrial manufacturing uses. Hemp fiber can replace fiberglass in automobile panels and components. BMW and other manufacturers already incorporate hemp composites into automobile interiors. Hemp fiberboard demonstrates superior strength and lighter weight compared to traditional wood. Hemp insulation outperforms fiberglass without creating health hazards during installation. Hemp plastic is completely biodegradable. Conventional petroleum plastic persists in environments for centuries. Hemp plastic breaks down naturally and can be molded into any form that petroleum plastic currently takes. Henry Ford manufactured an automobile in 1941 using hemp composite panels. He publicly demonstrated its strength by striking a panel forcefully with a sledgehammer. The panel sustained no damage. That vehicle ran on hemp ethanol fuel. Hempcrete is a building material manufactured from hemp herds, the woody core of the stalk, mixed with lime. It's fireproof, naturally mold-resistant, pest-resistant, and carbon-negative. During its production cycle, the material actually absorbs more carbon dioxide than was emitted creating it. Buildings constructed with hempcrete regulate temperature naturally, substantially reducing heating and cooling expenses. Europeans have constructed buildings with hempcrete for decades. America is only beginning this transition. Hemp can replace cotton in textile manufacturing with dramatically lower environmental impact. Cotton represents the world's most chemically dependent crop, using 25% of global pesticide supplies. Cotton progressively depletes soil quality. Producing a single cotton t-shirt requires 2,700 liters of water. Hemp requires 50% less water, needs no pesticides whatsoever, and actually improves soil health. A hemp t-shirt is stronger, lasts significantly longer, and carries no environmental guilt. Despite legalization, despite obvious environmental and economic benefits, hemp continues struggling to scale production in America. Why? Because the industries that criminalized it in 1937 still exist and maintain significant market power. Petroleum companies don't want biodegradable hemp plastic competing with their petroleum products. Pharmaceutical corporations don't want patients growing their own medicine. Cotton producers actively oppose competition. Timber companies fight hemp paper. Synthetic fiber manufacturers resist natural alternatives. These industries no longer need hemp illegal, they simply need it difficult. They achieve this through complicated regulations, banking restrictions because hemp remains associated with cannabis, absence of crop insurance, limited processing infrastructure, and zero government subsidies, unlike corn and soy. The market demand exists, the economic case is clear, but the system is deliberately designed to keep hemp marginal and uncompetitive. Meanwhile, millions of hemp plants continue growing wild and free across America. Drive through Nebraska and you'll see it flourishing along highways. Kansas back roads overflow with hemp. These plants could feed people, they could clothe them, they could house them, they could heal them. Instead, they're cut down as weeds or left to grow wild and unused. Everything you were taught about this plant was constructed as a lie designed to protect industrial profits. Hemp doesn't cause violence, it causes competition. It doesn't threaten public health, it threatens market share and corporate revenue streams. For 87 years, it was illegal to grow a plant that could replace petroleum plastic, cotton fabric, wood paper, and dozens of pharmaceutical products. The suppression campaign worked so effectively that most people today don't realize hemp and marijuana are the same species. They don't know their grandparents used hemp products daily. They don't understand the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper. They're unaware that Levi Strauss manufactured the first blue jeans from hemp canvas. The word canvas itself comes directly from cannabis. This knowledge was deliberately erased. When you erase knowledge, you eliminate power. When you erase power, you control markets. But the plant refuses to disappear. It grows in ditches. It survives eradication attempts. It waits for people to remember. Here's what you can do immediately. Learn to identify hemp. Understand its practical uses. Support hemp farmers actively. Purchase hemp products whenever possible. Choose hemp fabric over cotton in your clothing decisions. Choose hemp paper. Choose hemp building materials for construction projects. Every purchase shifts markets. Every purchase weakens industries that spent a century suppressing this plant. Share this information broadly. The propaganda was so powerful that people still believe lies from 1937. They still think hemp is dangerous. They still confuse industrial fiber with intoxication. Correct that confusion whenever you encounter it. Spread the knowledge they attempted to bury. If this video resonated with you, please subscribe to Nature's Forgotten World. Like this video and share it with someone who needs this information. Comment below with your thoughts about hemp and industrial applications you think could change the world. Your engagement helps us reach more people with stories the mainstream won't tell. We'll see you next time on Nature's Forgotten World, where forgotten plants and hidden histories come back to life.